Yeah, hello everybody. It's nice to be here. So I'm Mike Lancaster. I work at Keele University in a central department that's called KITE, and that stands for the Keele Institute for Innovation and Teaching Excellence. And I work there as a learning innovation technologist. This is my first EmpowerED workshop. Anshul's asked me if I would share some of the work that I've been doing at the moment, which is the course that you can hopefully see, the AI for Educators. So over the next kind of 25 minutes, I'll take you through the content of this and explain some of the rationale that I had when building it. And hopefully we'll have a couple of minutes at the end for any questions. So we've called it AI for Educators, and it's designed to give busy academics an introduction to artificial intelligence in higher education. So it's intended to help them improve their own productivity, to enhance their understanding of how students might be using AI tools, and it also provides practical tips to build AI into the curriculum and the assessment. It was built in Blackboard Ultra and launched this June. It's completely online and self-paced. We know that academics are very busy. They can't always attend workshops or have time to do this research themselves. It consists of videos, text, audio, lots of examples and case studies, and it's got some activities and discussions built in it, so there's active learning built into it. Prompt engineering is a theme that runs throughout the whole course. So what I'm going to do is I'll introduce you to the major sections. I'll give you an overview of them, and then I'll go back and we'll visit some pages in a bit more detail, and I'll take you through as much content as I can in the time frame that we've got. So we start off with the top one, introduction. Why is AI important? So this starts off by explaining the value in what they're going to learn. It explains why it's necessary and why it's important. Then we have a Q&A forum, and this is for questions specifically related to the course itself. In each of the sections, there's also a discussion forum, so they can discuss the area, the topic of that section. Then we have a section on what is AI, and that covers what AI is and how it works. So staff, they'll learn about that AI is an umbrella term for lots of types of artificial intelligence and technologies. So we describe machine learning, large language models, neural networks, Gen AI, etc. Because it's important to understand that Gen AI uses maths and probabilistic models to mimic reasoning. It's not true intelligence in the way that humans understand it. It's essentially like a sophisticated guess the next word machine, albeit with billions or trillions of parameters. So when you understand how it works, then you can understand why things might go wrong sometimes. Then the next section we have is how can AI help me? And within that, it kind of shows all the benefits that academics can get from AI. It provides example cases on how it can save them time and improve quality in their work. It features prompt engineering quite heavily and how to interact with AI to get the best results from it. Following that section, we've got creating images and visuals, and this goes into different tools and techniques for creating tailored images, diagrams, infographics, illustrations, etc. So staff can explain key teaching points and improve student understanding. So they don't have to scour through multiple databases anymore. You can just create what you want with AI. Then we have a section on AI features in Blackboard Ultra. That's the VLE that we use at Keele. So again, it can save you time with multi-choice quizzes, assignments, rubrics, that kind of thing. The next section is AI-powered research and writing assistance. And this was like a bridge between the productivity section for staff and how the students might use it. So this section shows how to use AI for writing, but it also provides insights into how students might be using AI to produce their essays and their reports. Now, following that, we have teaching with AI and supporting students. So when staff have got a clear understanding of what the technology can really do, at that point, they can then start to design meaningful AI integration into their courses. And this section and the last section on AI and assessment, they're the biggest and most important sections. So the AI and assessment, when they've learned everything kind of below this, then you can start to design authentic assessments in light of the capabilities of AI. So we hope that it's a structured journey for staff to go through. So each section builds on the last. And rather than presenting them with a lot of haphazard resources that we did previously, this is a place for them to start and to work through materials in a logical order. Then we have lots of case studies, and so they can see how AI is already being used at Keele for productivity and embedded into courses. They can see how assessments have been redesigned, and I link to these throughout the course at relevant areas. I am planning to add another section underneath that called What's New in this course, and it will kind of cover anything new that's happened and significant that's been added to the course. And that way staff who've already gone through it, they can just check back to that page, see what's changed, click on the link and kind of get up to date with things. And at the very bottom, we've got a little evaluation form so that I can gather feedback, make improvements to it based on what staff are actually interested in and want. And in designing this in the first place, I saw the feedback from quite a few other people. There were lots of contributors. I produced a Word document, put it out to staff, colleagues at Kite, AI leads at faculties, etc. They all provided me with some really useful input that I used to improve the course. So I'll jump back to the top and we'll start digging into the content a little bit. So we start with this hopefully friendly, welcoming guide. We know AI can be quite daunting, so we want to kind of give it a presence of something welcoming at the beginning. So this just sets the outline, how the course works. And at the bottom, we mention how AI tools are rapidly evolving. So even though they might not be capable of something today, they might be tomorrow. We talk about why AI is important. So like this example from the literature, how embracing AI is not simply an option, but a strategic imperative for educators. That's quite a common theme in the literature. We cover not just the benefits of AI, but also include lots of warning. We talk about the risks and the challenges. An example of that is this MIT study that basically says kind of overusing AI rewires the brain and harms critical thinking. And that's kind of summarized in this cartoon. And of course, it's not the AI itself that's the problem. It's how it's used. So students can use it effectively to enrich learning, or they could use it to undermine learning. Then we provide lots of stats throughout the course. So here, when asking the question, are students already using AI? The definite answer is yes. This is a study from HEPI, the Higher Education Policy Institute, a 2025 survey of over 1,000 undergrad students, and they found that 92% are already using it. And these are the ways that they're using it, and they say they expect it to grow quite rapidly. So even though it's 92% now, they're predicting virtually every student's going to be using it in a year or so. Then in the What is AI section, we have aims and learning objectives at the top of every section to introduce staff to what they will get out of it. So this section we discuss how Gen AI is used in education, what Gen AI is. There's an introduction to it here that's really nice. This is a workshop recording, an introduction to AI. I'll play you a little bit.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome.
So I hope you can hear that. I think I shared with Sam.
AI can level the playing field a bit more. So it's up to tutors to make it really clear what is and isn't permissible with AI.
So this is talking about how students might use AI to generate ideas, conduct research, find out what the best articles or the best authors are in an area. It can explain concepts to them, discuss ideas, act as a one-to-one tutor. They can use it to tidy up their report, etc., etc. We talk about using AI securely, and everything in this course, it's all tailored to Keele staff. So it starts off by talking about Copilot. We have an enterprise license with Copilot, so the data's protected. But we also say you can use other tools if you like, but we obviously give warnings about GDPR, security and privacy and all those kinds of details. And then we have an activities section in every component. Obviously, these are really important. It turns the passive learning into active learning, and it gives staff the chance to put into practice what they've just learned. So as an example, we'll look at some of the prompts here. what I've done is they kind of build up, they get harder and harder. So we start off with very basic prompts, and by the end they're more sophisticated. So we start them off on kind of easy things. So take this text, put it into an AI and fill in the placeholder. So I work as an educator in then enter the discipline. My biggest challenge is, and enter that, and how can AI help me with my teaching and learning? So they'll hopefully get a good response from that and start thinking, oh yeah, it can really be quite useful. Or how might Gen AI help me in the field of, enter that with my teaching, etc. So these activities, they build up. We have additional resources in every section. We don't want to overload staff, but if people do want to go further, they can dig into those areas. And we have, as I mentioned, a discussion in every section so that people can chat about the topic. Next, we've got how AI can help me. So this is a graphic from JISC suggesting different ways that staff might use AI to improve productivity. I've compiled a list here from various sources of lots of different ways that AI might be used. So for ideas for new modules, for curriculum design, brainstorming, writing learning outcomes, etc. And we've divided this into areas: teaching and learning, professional development, research, etc. Also, at the bottom of this page, I describe the ways that I've been using AI to build this course, so I'm transparent about how I've used it and said how it's benefited me. We then move into an area, this is where we first really introduce prompt engineering. So we define what a prompt is and give them tips for kind of best practice, being clear and specific and providing multiple chat prompts. We introduce different frameworks. So there's a basic one here from the president of OpenAI. One that I quite like is this Microsoft framework that specifies, give the AI a persona, kind of a role, a way to act, then give it the objective, what you want it to do, provide it with details about the audience, give it some context and boundaries. And I ran a workshop on this content a couple of weeks ago, and staff were already saying, yeah, they're getting much better responses from how they were using AI prior to this. We look at ways to enhance the output of AI, so how you can mitigate bias and hallucinations, lots of different techniques for that. Then we jump into a case study. So this is by an academic at Keele called Ed De Quincey, and I'll play you a little bit.
There's this thing called the CyBook, which is the Cybersecurity Book of Knowledge, which has been developed by...
He essentially, he does a great job of demonstrating how AI can support tasks like drafting content, redefining learning objectives, improving headings, but he also discusses the problems that he had doing it. He highlights, that effective prompting requires iteration and critical human oversight. So if you're kind of new to using AI, that's a really good guide. So you can see how hard it can be at times to get it to do exactly what you want, and like little tips for kind of bashing it into shape. And then the activities in this section, they're all built around staff uses of AI. So writing engaging content, coming up with lesson plans, writing outcomes, getting ideas for good headings. We then jump into a section on creating images and visuals. And we start off again talking about prompt engineering, but this time specifically frameworks to use for generating images. We also warn about the bias in image generation as well as text generation. So we've used this example of the 10:10 clock, because that's the data that it's trained on 99% of the time. It's a more harmonious view of the time, so it's very difficult to get AI to produce an image that doesn't have that time on an analog clock. So obviously there's biases related to ethnicity, culture, and disability, and we've used the clock example just to illustrate that kind of a bias. And this section introduces lots of different tools for visualizations. So Copilot, for example, ChatGPT's recently been updated and the capabilities are really powerful now. So we describe what it can do, the infographics and visuals that it can produce and how to get the most out of those, the drawing styles that you can create using ChatGPT. And then I show a few examples. So I uploaded an image of Keele Hall and said, draw a squirrel in manga style, use the Keele Hall as a background. This is what it produced for me. I then said, change the style to be more Pixar Disney-like and add falling leaves to show that it's autumn time. And it did a nice job there and nice renderings. And then I said, turn the image into an infographic explaining why it's great for students to live and study at campus. You can see it did a pretty good job of that. You have to check the text really carefully on these kinds of outputs. And then final example, I uploaded an image of this girl in the library and said, update this, but make the interior sunny and swap out the girl for a male student instead. So it's used that as a basis and it's produced that image more, it's based more on what I was interested in. We've then got an AI features in Blackboard. This might be my favorite section because I hardly had to do any work. I pretty much just directed people to the anthology website because they'd already produced resources for this. And I just provided a series of activities to use all the AI components within Blackboard. We then have a section on AI-powered research and writing assistance. So this section had a dual purpose. So it does cover how to write a report, but also to understand how students are using AI. So it also gives examples of kind of what not to do, of misuse. And we also describe how to mitigate hallucinations and bias. So again, we're building on that prompt engineering throughout every stage. Then tools to support AI writing. So tools for different purposes like Perplexity, Notebook LM, the GPTs within ChatGPT, Napkin for visualizations. And we also warn about tools like Humanize and Undetectable, where students might take an AI generated output and try and disguise that it was AI generated by running it through these kinds of tools. We have now the teaching with AI. So we start off looking at Gen AI and employability. So this discusses the job market. It provides stats on the impact that AI is having. And of course, students kind of need AI related skills now to boost their career prospects. It's something that employers are looking for. So we link to different statistics there. Then teaching students about AI and preparing them for the future. So this talks about Gen AI literacy and preparing students for the reality of the workforce. So there's a section here, students should learn to use AI as a collaborative tool, not to replace their own thinking, but to enhance it. And AI should work with them, not for them, supporting their creativity, analysis, and problem solving, not acting as a shortcut. That's something that's stressed throughout the whole course. You can never just trust what AI has done. You need to critically evaluate it. Then we're very lucky at Keele because we've got a great team of academic skills team, some of whom are experts in AI, and they've provided some excellent resources for students that staff can just directly link to. So they're here. And we emphasize to the tutors as well that they also need AI literacy in their discipline, know how AI is used in their industry so that they can show students how it's used in their area and teach them how to critically evaluate the output. Then building AI into the curriculum. We start off talking about constructive alignment. So aligning the learning outcomes, the content and the activities and the assessment, then provide general guidance on how to integrate AI into the curriculum. Then explore how you can utilize AI in exciting and innovative ways. So they're kind of encouraged to use AI to make teaching more engaging. So for example, for history students, you might use AI to simulate conversations with figures like Abraham Lincoln, explore immersive walkthroughs of ancient Egypt. In literature, you might generate a dialogue in the style of Shakespeare or Austen, etc. Hopefully it'll give them a few ideas how they can use something that hasn't existed before in new ways. And then the activities, they're obviously all around how to embed AI into your curriculum. Then the final major section is AI and assessment. So we start off with the big question that a lot of academics will ask, which is why do we kind of need to redesign some of these assessments? So it explains why we need to redesign them. It talks about the risk of academic misconduct. We discuss a model, revert, outrun, and embrace, which I imagine everyone here is already familiar with. I use Notebook LM here to produce an overview of some of the topics covered in this area, and it also serves as a good example of what AI can do. So Notebook LM, it's a note-taking and research tool developed by Google. What makes it different is that you can upload your own files to it, and it bases its output on that, so there's no hallucinations. So you can include PDFs, Word documents, YouTube, etc., and you can output audio, video, or just responses. So I'll play you a little bit of this. It's generated entirely by AI.
All right, let's get right into it. The arrival of these incredibly machines know they have to adapt, and fast. So this new reality puts every educator, every school at a crossroads. It really boils down to three main paths they can take when it comes to student assessments and AI. You can either try to avoid it, outrun it, or embrace it.
So I did this, it took me about 5 minutes to gather resources and 1 minute to click the button, and it's something that probably would have taken me a day to produce, summarizing all this information and producing the slides, and it did it for me instantly. In the additional resources, this is another use of Notebook LM again. Again, I used it to produce an overview of lots of different areas. So I'll play you a little bit of this.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a topic that's been generating a lot of buzz lately, the material.
Right. You can't just rely on AI to do the thinking for you. Now, what about research proposals? These are all...
So it's generated two different people having a conversation. I mean, they do have kind of cheesy American accents a little bit, but I'm sure they'll improve that. But the content and the voice intonation, I was very impressed with. Then we look at AI detection, and we describe the limitations and the inaccuracies that it has. We explain what the Keele policy is, and then we provide some information about how to spot possible signs of AI use, but we kind of make it clear that the goal isn't to be trying to catch people, it's to design assessments that integrate AI into like meaningful real world contexts in the assessments. Then we have, is your assessment AI resistant? So here staff are encouraged to assess the susceptibility of their own assignments by using AI to generate a response. It introduces the AI, this ARMS, the AI risk and measure scale, which is, it was developed by academics at the University of Greenwich, and you can use that to evaluate the risk of generative AI being misused in different assessment types. We also have an in-house AI resilience evaluation tool. So it's an MS form that staff can fill in, and based on their responses, it will give them advice on how to make their assessment more AI resilient. And then here we start to give advice about designing authentic assessments with regard to AI. It also talks about accessibility for all students. Don't use paid tools, use things that everybody's got access to. It gives tips for designing AI-aware assessments. We include a workshop on AI and assessment, so we've included that here. And we also give several different examples and case studies. And we show lots of different to get people think just from, instead of an essay, we kind of give lots of different ideas for different assessment types that they may want to consider. And then down at the bottom, I linked to 3 different examples of where these are in our case studies where people have redesigned their assessments based on what AI can do. We introduce AI assessment scales that can help you to determine the level of what AI should be used for in your own assessments. Then we've got an example here from Leon Furs, and it's a continuum of AI use. So there's no AI at the top, all the way down to fully fledged use of AI at the bottom. And there's an also example here developed by the curriculum design team at Keele. And then we acknowledge that these tools do have limitations in that when you set a scale of use, you're still relying on the honesty of the students because we haven't got proper detection at the moment. So once you've designed your new assessment, you then need to communicate your guidelines to students really clearly. So this gives advice on how to do that, and it shares a couple of examples. And then finally we have an AI resilient checklist, which covers everything that's been discussed in this area. So that's kind of, I hope, a good overview of the content that's in it. I can't tell you yet how well it's been received. It's a bit too early to tell. I've got an evaluation form there, but we haven't had any responses in it yet. So in a few months' time, I'm going to send out an email asking everyone who's enrolled to complete the evaluation form, and then I can make improvements based on that. I can tell you that 131 people have already registered on it, so it's a good proportion of our academic staff. And in the analytics, I've seen that the top user spent almost 18 hours in there, so a good 2.5 days. Lots of people have spent between 2 and 7 hours in there. And I think it would take about 2.5 days to complete the whole thing if you're doing the activities and watching all the videos. And I just have anecdotal evidence that people have said that they like it and they're finding it useful. But you know, maybe in the future I'll have proper quantitative evidence to provide. So, okay, I've got 1 minute left, so I hope you found that useful and interesting. And